So, welcome to the Season 1 wrap-up of Retro Wednesdays. In this video, we're going to just talk a little bit about all the stuff we did in our first season, some of our favorite moments, our least favorite moments, and what we're looking forward to in Season 2. So, to start with, it's just sort of I wanted to ask the most basic question I could think of, and that is, why? Why do we do this, and why is Retro Wednesdays something that we started to engage with, and why it's important to us? So I'll ask that question to Brett. Brett, why is this important to you, and why do you do Retro Wednesdays?
Well, I think the first thing to consider is that the people who play these games are older now. They have jobs, they have mortgages to pay, they have wives, husbands, whatever, and it's really tough to just go hang out with your friends on a night. You really have to schedule things. So I learned that once I got married, that's what you have to do, and that's fine. So what I thought was, why don't we do a scheduled game playing session where we record ourselves? And the reason that we record ourselves is, number one, to have a history, something that we can look back on to see the great times we had, but also that recording, that goal that we have in mind, kind of pushes us along and makes us pay attention maybe a little longer, be a little bit more motivated to actually try to complete the game or play it for much longer than we would if it was just after work I came home and I played some games. Because frankly, games from this era, from our childhood, are definitely fun and definitely engaging, but they just don't have the secret sauce that a lot of the newer games have. So why do this? One, to play through the library, and two, to have a history and to look back on it. I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah, I have kind of similar answer in that it was a way for us to establish a new game tradition in our lives. Like, we had the tradition when we were younger and growing up of like spending the whole weekend or the whole day over at one house or the other playing games all day and just having a riot. And like, as we got older, that sort of, I don't want to say fell by the wayside, but it got more and more difficult. Like, we would do the LAN party thing and stuff, but it became less and less frequent, and it just kind of got hard to do. Plus, for me, I was collecting all these really great games and all these games that I had in my library, but I never got around to playing them. And I always would say, like, oh, I have all these games I want to play, and then I would go to do it, and I'd always have something else pop up or something else come in that sort of took a priority. So with this, it sort of set a schedule. So I know that every day that we have Retro Wednesdays scheduled, I know I have to, get the recording stuff set up, and I know I have to play through the game and get a chance to enjoy it. And it kind of let me schedule sort of my gaming life around every other aspect of my life, as an adult. And the other thing that I like about doing this that is enjoyable for me, at least, is that we would, like, we have so many memories of, like, just really hilarious things happening, like, while we were playing games. Like, I still joke around all the time about, there's just one story where we were playing, like, Madden 92 at my house, and, like, we were so hyper on candy and ice cream or whatever, and, like, we were running around singing the song from the Madden game, which I'll find it and play it. But we were like running around the house singing the song, like just crack it up, having such a great time. And like, it always made me laugh every time I thought about it, but it also made me a little sad that, like, I wish like life was different and that we had recorded that, because it was just, even though it might not have been funny to anyone else, it was so hilarious to me that, like, I wanted to keep that as like a keepsake or like a memory. And I think in a way this is sort of a chance for us to, like, have that kind of experience again, but also, like, make a record of it or a recording of it to keep it. So, like, when we crack a really hilarious joke, like, we have that now, so that we can, share it, and maybe somebody else will find it that is really funny, or maybe people will find it just really annoying or offensive or whatever. But the point of it is that it was a way for me to, like, create and preserve a lot of memories about, like, our time playing video games, which has been such a huge part of our lives. And the last thing was, it was just something fun to try differently. Like, I'm lucky in that my job, I have to do some, like, video editing stuff and some recording stuff, so I knew a little bit about it, but I never really looked at what goes into making, like, a good game video. And I think it's something that, we're still learning, and obviously, like, we're not professionals or like super experts at it, but I think it's something that we've started to create like a little bit of a brand and a little bit of a craft and a little bit of a style to our videos. And I think that I'm starting to, at least from other retro gamers that watch our channel and stuff, like they're not saying that we're terrible, which is like, you know, I was kind of surprised about, because I expected people to look at these and be like, you guys are horrendous. Stop immediately. So yeah.
Can I just add one?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Are you moving on to the next one?
We can,
just wanted to add one thing, that if anyone's listening to this, that I highly recommend that you do exactly what we're doing. Let's plays have been done before, for sure, but just selfishly do it. It's something that will force you to play a game, and that's, on its surface, sounds really terrible. Why should you force yourself? But I think it really helps you appreciate the game better, and switching off back and forth really helps you kind of analyze what you did wrong, and recharges you to play the next playthrough, so you don't get bored. Because it's so easy to get bored nowadays, and I think if you start doing a Let's Play, even if you don't publish it yourself, just having it is good, because it kind of helps you play your collection. That's all I wanted to
Absolutely.
say.
You can do, you don't have to upload them to YouTube. You can do them and just keep them unlisted, just share them with your friends or whatever, or even like just, archiving like your gameplay footage is just really important to me, at least, because it was like you would beat a game and then I'd go back and try to play it again and be like, wait, how do I do this? Or like, what can I do? I can go back and watch it again and be like, oh yeah, that's the trick that I used. Like in Super Mario Brothers 2, like I actually watched the playthrough that we did where we didn't beat it, and then I went through and beat it, and I wrote down and made a chart out of all the characters that are really good for each level, so that way I know next time I play, like, oh, this is definitely a Luigi level, or I definitely need to use Princess on this one because it makes it easier. So, speaking of all of our episodes, which you can find all over our channel, we have 22 of them in our first season. What was your favorite moment, or your favorite video that we did this season?
I answered first last time. Did you want to take this one? Or?
I can go first. So for this one, there were a whole bunch of different ones. I had a hard time picking, but the one that I liked the most was our Jackal video, only because it's a game that you and I are both very passionate about in terms of like our love for that game and our desire to make that game really well known and really popular. I think that it still kind of sits in that weird tier of popularity where it's like people that play it really like it, but not it doesn't sit in the same pantheon as like Contra and like Zelda, Mario Brothers, and I think that it does. It should, in my opinion. But I think that video was just really classic. Like, it was like a really classic throwback to like what we were doing growing up. Like, we would sit down, we talked our way through the game, we ripped through it like really fast, which is a lot of fun too, because it's a game that we both play a lot. And it was just like, it was really cool to like see that how much, even though we're older now, like how much that game still meant a lot to me, at least. And it was just really fun to play through and have a lot of fun like going through and re-exploring and reintroducing myself to the game. It was probably like our shortest one. I don't think I even edited that much when we got done it, but it was just definitely just really fun to go through. And it's like it just reminded me that game is so good, and I wish that more people would appreciate it, because I think it's forgotten a lot amongst a lot of the top tier, so to speak, games in the NES library. What was your favorite?
I also had a tough time choosing this. Maybe not as tough as you, but I chose Kid Nicky, and the reason for that is that nowadays, in modern times, we rely a lot on stuff like Yelp and reviews and all this sort of thing, and it's always like 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10 stars, and you don't even consider anything below that. And I started getting tired of that whole concept, and I can't remember which review that I read, but someone said something to the effect of, a game doesn't need to be a 10 out of 10 for me to enjoy it.
Right.
And so I try to approach game playing in that mindset. And the reason that I chose Kid Nicky was because Kid Nicky isn't a 10. It's certainly maybe not even a 7 or an 8. It's more like maybe a 5 or a 6.
Right. Yeah.
But it kind of made me realize that I can enjoy a game thoroughly. Well, maybe not for the whole time, but I end up enjoying a game even if it's not perfect, because there's some enjoyment to be had on games that aren't perfect. And we you know, we live in a society where it's like everything has to be the best, and I think that we should strive for that for sure. But sometimes I feel like there are maybe not gems, but like shiny rocks in the like forest that people are missing. So and I admit that many times during that playthrough I almost quit. I mean, I was really close to quitting, but again, what helped was that we switched off every continue, and that recharged me and made me see what you were doing and incorporating that into my play style. And then eventually we beat it, and I was very satisfied at the end. I felt like I triumphed through a game that really wasn't all that great, but I still had a fun time playing it, and being, I guess, thankful that I can look at this game and realize that it's not that great, because there are games out there that have taken this concept and improved upon it.
Right. Kid Nikki was definitely really fun. My favorite part of that video is just the fact that you beat the boss, and then just to like spite him, you beat it again because it takes you back to the last level.
Right.
And you did like a victory lap on top of him just to get him again. That was definitely really fun. That was actually one of the second longest playthrough video that we did. The number one was the one that's actually going up very soon. It's our latest and greatest. It was Predator, and that was the longest video that we did. That was just under like 3 hours of footage that I had to cut down. We do, you know, I should have mentioned this early on, but just in case people aren't familiar with it, our format is, you know, we play through the video game. We try to beat it, or we get as far as we can. We do edit our videos, so that way you're not sitting through like us dying over and over again. But I try to keep it to a minimum. I just try to keep the flow of the video kind of going. So like if we die and have to build ourselves back up, that's usually just cut out, and so on and so forth. I try to keep our videos as short as we can. You know, I think the longest one we have up there is around an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I think would be the longest one. But yeah. So, I'm afraid to ask this one, but what was your least favorite?
I really, there's two that stick out in my mind when you say that, but I chose Little Red Hood because I just hate it so much. It's not, the game itself probably isn't all that bad. It's just that there's a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, not hype, but there's a lot of like mystery to this game. It's very much talked about with collectors of its rarity and all this sort of thing.
Right.
And I'm the kind of person where I get upset when things that are rare command a high price just because they're rare. As far as video games are concerned, I really don't like it when a game is expensive just because it's rare. If it's rare and good, then fine. And if it's good, fine. Right. But if it's just rare and the game totally blows or just isn't that remarkable, then it kind of bothers me a little bit. So I just, like, I went in and I hated it immediately, and unfortunately, sometimes I just do that.
That's
so,
all right.
The game itself, the graphics were terrible. There's like the thing, the glitch where you had to get hit to move through the guy guarding the door.
Right, the Doge dog.
Like, that's just ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah.
And sure, I'm a hypocrite because I know I play games with way worse mechanics than that. But it's just like the whole thing surrounding this game drives me nuts. And watching someone play through it was not really that fun for me. So.
That's all right. See, I guess that like Little Red Hood is is for some reason one of my favorite games. I don't know why I like it. I just always have. But that's all right. Mine, it doesn't come as a surprise if you've watched any of our videos, but mine was definitely The Hunt for Red October. It is the worst game I've ever played. I enjoy Little Red Hood more. I enjoy Crystal Mines more. Every game that we've played was better than this game. This game, I mean, maybe it was because we recorded that the same night we did Gimmick, right? Was it? Yeah, so we did Gimmick, which is such a great game. So maybe I was just coming off of the high of Gimmick, but I've never played a game that made me depressed. That's the only way I can describe how this game made me feel. Like, I didn't want to play video games anymore. I didn't want to have the TV on. I just wanted to shut everything off and just go to bed, because I just was like so blown away by how, not just like how just difficult and like not enjoyable it was, but just like the music was just like so depressing. Like I thought about it, the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to admittedly find like that the game in a way is genius, because when you think about Russia, like it's kind of like a common stereotype that it's like a depressing place because it's like always wintertime and like bleak. And I'm like, when I played the game, I'm like, that made me feel like stereotype Russia. Like it made me feel like I was stuck in the tundra with nowhere to go and nothing to do but to just sit here and exist and just be miserable. And like I thought about that, I was like, wow, that's kind of genius. Like they made the gameplay so bad that it almost became understandable, or there's actually I could almost come up with a justification for why it was so bad. But in all seriousness, it was the worst game I've ever played. I've never played a game. I played Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. I'm a Night Trap fan, and I found Red October to be, I almost slipped out there. I found Red October to be way worse. It's the worst game I've ever played. It made me want to just sell my game collection because it was so bad. Someday I'm going to come back and try to like play it again and try to get further, because I've seen other videos of it and there's other stuff that happens, but it just it was garbage.
I just want to add that it was like funny in a weird sort of way to see you go through that process, because I've never seen you like so depressed and like through with video games as I have that time we recorded that. So
true.
It was almost not funny in that respect, because it totally like killed your video game. It did the same for me, but not to the same extent. So it was that whole thing like, I wish I had a camera to videotape your face so I could see it again later, like just how completely like defeated you were. Like
I was. I've never felt
video
it was
games.
so bad. It was funny. I guess it must have been like, this is what it was like when we were playing Little Red Hood for you. Like it was the same thing.
No way,
like,
man. No,
it wasn't that bad.
No,
it was like
it wasn't.
I was just like, why do I exist right now? It was almost existential how bad it was. So just to wrap up, what are you looking forward for our second season of Retro Wednesdays? Like I wasn't coming into this question with like, let's name games, but like what kind of things are you looking forward to trying out in our next season of Retro Wednesdays?
I think we found through playing through all these games that the games that are the most enjoyable aren't necessarily the best games.
Yeah.
So if we play through something like Contra, there's not a whole lot to talk about. First of all, it's been done before.
Right.
Not that we've done anything really all that original, but sometimes I think the games with flaws provide the most enjoyable, all-encompassing experience. The gameplay is good enough. The things that are bad enough that it's funny to make fun of them. And you can just have a good time. And, So I think what I'm looking forward to is just playing some more, like, not 10 out of 10 games, but good games, and just... I don't think that there's too much else to do. I think just releasing the material like this is good for us to have a history, and I think it's good that we have like a set day to do this, and I'm looking forward to just hanging out and playing some games, honestly.
I think the one thing I'm looking forward to is, I know that we, the NES has kind of been our comfort zone for a lot of these playthroughs, but I'm looking forward to like getting into other systems. Like I keep talking about doing one just for like the Atari 2600, just like not doing like a ton of games, or not doing like super deep high score runs and all that stuff, but just like going through some of the games that were for the Atari that I think are really good and like really worthwhile having. I'm looking forward to doing some of that stuff. Maybe even getting into like, getting more into the SNES library, and like, there are even systems that I skipped as a young adult. Like I almost completely skipped the Nintendo 64, so I know very few games for that system. So like it would be fun to try those out. I mean, other than Shadows of the Empire, it's like the only game I ever played. So like there's tons of games with that. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm looking forward to like finding, I don't want to say like the B tier or second tier games, but like finding those games that like not everybody talks about all the time, like, you know, any like we could sit here and do like if we felt like it, do like a Zelda 1 run through all the way, but like a lot of people have done that. Like I'm interested like in doing like, you know, Zelda 2 where we take our time and go through it in parts and like not spend our whole time like, you know, trying to speed run it or get through it without using like any of the spells or anything crazy, like just trying and getting through it. Yeah, and I think that's what I'm really looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to hopefully like we've talked about it, but having some special guests every once in a while like come in and try to play, which would be fun. Like just some of our friends and stuff like to stop by and like sit in on one and just like try it out and get their experiences and opinions. And one person in particular, I'm not going to drop names, but that has expressed a lot of interest in doing it is not a gamer, so I'm interested in having him come in and try it out because he's never played like any of these games, so I'd be interested to see his perspective on it, as a person who's not experienced much in the way of like video games and stuff. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to in season 2. So just to really quickly wrap up, season 2, like we're going to be doing more of the same with different games and playthroughs. They're going to be posted up every Wednesday, so I hope if people are watching this, they can check out all our new stuff and go back and take a look at season 1, because I'm hopefully speaking for both of us, but we had a blast making it. So here's to the end of season 1 and the start of season 2. So until next time.